Can't seem to get rid of chronic pain once and for all? Are you taking prescription medications but still can't find relief from your autoimmune disease symptoms? Are you losing hope of ever living a full life after your chronic illness diagnosis? We are changing all of that today and restoring your hope with functional medicine practitioner Kevin Smith. You will want a pen and paper for this episode. Let's dive in. Have you tried everything to eliminate autoimmune symptoms like joint pain and digestion issues without relief? Are you struggling to keep up with the demands of life due to chronic fatigue? Does chronic pain keep you from doing the things you love in life? If you are feeling defeated and hopeless, you are not alone. I am Ashley Cavolo, a busy working mom who once struggled with debilitating autoimmune symptoms. I too felt like giving up after trying every possible solution without relief from symptoms like joint pain and stiffness, painful digestion issues, relentless chronic fatigue, and embarrassing brain fog. Until it was time to stop allowing the pain to control my life. I dove into the root cause of autoimmune diseases and was shocked to find the answer is not found in endless doctor visits, harsh medications, expensive supplements, or strict food lists. The secret to healing autoimmune symptoms is found within the specific habits that reduce inflammation and heal symptoms quickly and naturally. I applied what I learned and found relief from my symptoms in a matter of weeks. 7 years later, I am living a pain-free life free of autoimmune symptoms. I turned this discovery into a self-paced program called the Autoimmune Reboot, where I share my secrets and my step-by-step process to help you heal your symptoms quickly so you can live a pain-free life. This podcast is for you if you are ready to eliminate joint pain so you can jump out of bed every morning pain-free. Heal and maintain a healthy gut so you can enjoy your favorite foods again without that uncomfortable bloat. Go from no energy and endless coffee breaks to an abundance of natural energy and stamina to tackle the day. Eliminate uncomfortable autoimmune symptoms such as bloating, brain fog, constipation, diarrhea, digestion pain, inflammation, joint pain, joint stiffness, skin rashes, and many more. Living a pain-free life is easier and closer than you think. I can't wait to show you what I discovered. Refresh your coffee and let's dive in. Kevin Smith is a functional medicine practitioner from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He is the founder and clinic director of the Chronic Conditions Centers in Bethel Park, specializing in the diagnosis and treatment of chronic health problems that have failed to be cured by traditional medical approaches. Since beginning his practice in 2001, he has seen thousands of people regain their function, restore their health, and overcome imbalances, preserve their independence, and decrease their reliance on medications. Many have said Kevin has a gift of simplifying complicated medical information in a way that people can understand. He prides himself in being the doctor who actively listens and tailors treatment specifically to people's needs. He takes the time to educate people about their condition and their treatment plans. Dr. Smith prioritizes developing a trusting, long-term relationship with his patients and genuinely cares about their well-being. Kevin brings an incredible amount of wealth and knowledge to this episode. If you are struggling with chronic pain, this episode is for you. Today I have Kevin Smith here. He is a functional medicine practitioner, and I am very excited to have you on, Kevin. Thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope that I can bring some value to your listeners.
Yes, I think you certainly will. If you can start off by telling us what you do and kind of explain to the audience what a functional medicine practitioner is.
So I have a lot of degrees. My base degree is I'm a doctor of chiropractic, and on top of that, I'm a clinical nutritionist and a functional medicine practitioner. I've been practicing functional medicine for 25 years, and in that time, I've literally seen thousands of people. Um, I'm working on my second book on functional medicine. It's about 98% done. It just needs edited. And I'm also a public speaker. And I really enjoy teaching. I enjoy speaking to people and enlightening people and giving people fresh new ideas. There's a lot of people out there that are really frustrated with their condition and with the lack of progress that they've seen with medical doctors. And I bring to the table something fresh and unique.
What do you do differently than, say, a conventional practitioner?
Okay, so there's two types of medicine. There's two types of healthcare, broadly speaking, in the United States. There is conventional medicine, which is called allopathic medicine, and that's what medical doctors mostly do. With allopathic medicine, medical doctors want to chase symptoms with a drug. So if you have hypertension, they'll give you an antihypertensive drug or something like a diuretic to make you go to the bathroom more to decrease your blood pressure. If you have low thyroid, they'll give you something to boost up your TSH level or your T4 level. If you don't want to get pregnant, if you can't poop, or if you can't sleep, if you have aches or pains, there's a pill for every ill. And that's what conventional allopathic medicine is all about. The other type of medicine that's in the country is called functional medicine. And functional medicine doesn't chase the symptoms. It doesn't treat the disease. It treats the person. So it's a very personalized, patient-centric approach to healthcare. It looks at the entire interconnected body to see what could be driving the problem. Functional medicine practitioners ask the question, why? Why do you have hypertension? Why do you have autoimmunity? Why do you have cardiovascular problems? Medical doctors don't ask that question. They just are more focused on the diagnosis and a chemical to treat symptoms, more so than appreciating the complex interworkings of the body. For example, if you have a brain problem, what's causing the brain problem? Could it be caused from gut problems, for example? Could it be caused from nutritional imbalances or a food allergy or a food intolerance? Functional medicine doctors dig in a lot deeper and go and figure out what's going on below the surface to figure out the root cause of the problem.
I think a lot of people can relate to this. I know in my personal experience, my health journey, I was not asked any questions to get to the root cause of what was going on. It was the medications, the blood work, and send you on your way. Why do you think conventional doctors are not taking that approach to treat the root cause?
Boy, there's the $1 million question of the day. So, a lot of it has to do with their residency and their training. A lot of the thinking, the thought process of a primary care physician or an endocrinologist or any other type of a specialist is based on what they were trained, their problem-solving methods that they were taught when they were doing residency. And that is steeped in politics and money and tradition. That's really the best answer I can give you. It's kind of like that old joke you ever heard that the little girl goes up to her mom and goes, "Mommy, why do you always cut off the end of the ham?" She goes, "Well, because grandma did. Why don't you go ask her?" So the little girl goes up to grandma and she goes, "Grandma, why do you always cut off the end of the ham?" She goes, "Well, because great grandma always did that when I was a little kid. So go ask her." So the little girl walks over to great grandma sitting in a rocking chair, and the great grandma, she goes, "Great grandma, why do you always cut off the end of the ham?" She goes, "Honey, because my skillet was only this big." So the answer is nobody really knows what the root cause or why these things came about. A lot of the medical stuff that we have today was developed a long time ago. Like for example, the treatments for thyroid issues started in 1965. Now the names of the drugs may have changed and the names of the conditions may have changed a little bit, but the treatments haven't changed at all. With today's society, we have a whole lot of drugs. They're out there to kind of treat the same exact condition so they can sell you more immunosuppressives or steroids or whatever the problem may be. But it's mostly based on tradition, politics, and money.
chronic disease is on the rise and we're throwing medications to treat the problems. What do you see as some of those driving factors in this rise of chronic disease?
Well, I agree with you. I think that it is on the rise. People want to go to McDonald's 6 days a week and then biggie size their Lipitor. That was a joke, by the way.
Yeah.
So, but you know, there's a consequence to eating bad food. There's a consequence to not exercising. You could do whatever you want. You don't have to brush your teeth. You don't have to take a shower. This is America. This is a free country. You're welcome to do whatever you want, but there's a consequence to it. On the other side of the coin, there's a benefit to eating very clean. There's a benefit to maintaining your fitness levels or managing your stress or making sure that you're nice and flexible and you're keeping your nervous system in good order, or flipping and rotating your mattress, or going to the dentist every 6 months for regular maintenance care. That stuff is done because people today are becoming more and more aware that certain things in life require continuous maintenance. Like my dentist wants me to come back every 6 months, not because he wants the money, because he doesn't want bad things to happen to my teeth. And if you're a female, you need to go see the gynecologist. If they tell people to go to the primary care physician for a wellness check, measure your height, weight, blood pressure, your pulse ox, things like that. They don't do a whole lot. But I think that in today's society, people are becoming more and more aware, slowly but surely, and it takes a long time to break old cycles.
Yeah, I agree that awareness is key. And unfortunately, a lot of people struggling with autoimmune disease don't realize there's a problem until, symptoms pop up. And it takes a lot of work to reverse them, but it's possible. So, what are some of the common symptoms that you see when people come in to visit you?
Well, getting back to something that you brought up before, the autoimmune issue, every time, well, not every time, but many times that there is some kind of a weird, unexplained medical illness or symptom that nobody can put their finger on. The labs may come back normal. The person's got good range of motion. They don't have any deficits, or they haven't been in any traumas, but they have this weird symptom going on. Most likely it's autoimmune. And so I think it's a good time to really define what that means. Your body has a defense system called the immune system. And the immune system is your white blood cells that circulate throughout your body, and they want to protect you. It wants to protect you against bacteria or viruses or a parasite or a protozoa or something that shouldn't be in your body. And what it does is it goes around your blood throughout the circulation, and it scavenges your body to look for invaders that may have crept in there, or maybe you got a cut, or maybe you got a wound, and it has to clean the area and make sure that the body is protected. Now, something happens that causes the body to accidentally turn on itself. And I say the word accidentally because it was not designed to do that. So what happens is that the white blood cells that are supposed to be protecting you against invaders starts to attack your own body. That's what autoimmune means. Auto means self, and immunity meaning the immune system. So there's over 100 different autoimmune diseases that have been identified by researchers, and they're all based on what tissues have been exposed to an autoimmune attack. For example, if it happens in the lung fields, that's called sarcoidosis. If it happens to the joints in your hands or your legs, that's called rheumatoid arthritis. If it happens to the skin, that's called psoriasis. If it happens to the thyroid gland, that is called Hashimoto's disease. Now, one thing about autoimmune disease is that the current method that the medical doctors will do to try to help with this is that they'll give people an immunosuppressant drug. In other words, they'll give you a steroid or some kind of a drug that will reduce the effectiveness of your immune system so it's not as strong, it's not going to be as potent to attack your own body. And so that's the reason why you can only get a cortisone shot every 3 or 4 months, because if you get it any more than that, it can cause you to get colds and flus and be more susceptible to infection because it can drop the immune system to dangerously low levels. You cannot cure autoimmunity. Anybody that tells you that they can cure it and turn it off like a light switch is lying to you. But while you can't cure it, you can put it into remission. You can do certain things that can dim it down, kind of like when you dim down the light switch of the chandelier of your living room so that it's very, very dim. It's not causing any more light to come out. Same thing with your immune system. It's no longer causing mischief. And that is a great thing to occur, is if it's no longer causing problems, it's no longer interfering with your lifestyle, it's no longer causing issues. And the way that I look at doing this is I look at two broad sections of the immune system. There's the Th1 system and the Th2 system. The Th1 is like the Marines. They go in there and they kill everything. They're like the first line of defense. And the Th2 system is kind of like the memory part of the immune system. So if you've ever been infected with a cold or a flu, the Th2 system remembers what that bug looked like, and it can give you lifetime immunity to that bug. So if it ever creeps up again, it'll move into action and protect you and give you lifetime immunity. The problem with autoimmunity is that the Th1 and the Th2 are no longer in balance for some reason. I don't know why. Researchers have argued that it could be genetic, it could be lifestyle, it could be environmental. Nobody really understands what the root cause of that would be. But by looking at the Th1 and the Th2 systems, what you want to do is bring them more into balance with each other so they're no longer causing a lot of mischief. There's a lot of many more components. There's a Th17, Th10, Th32. Those are all parts of the immune system, and they have to be in good working order and properly maintained. And the first thing that we'd want to do is look for anything that could be called a trigger or something that can cause a disruption or an imbalance with the Th1 and the Th2 systems, and put them back into balance so that the immune system can calm down and put the symptoms back into remission.
Beautiful. So what are some of those common triggers that you're seeing in your practice?
Well, I think that there's a lot of dietary triggers. There's a lot of things that people are eating. There's food allergens, food intolerances, what I will refer to as reactivity. In other words, how reactive are you, is your body, to a certain food? Your chemistry is different from mine. So that's why each individual is well off to get a food allergy test, a food safe allergy test. And this test, objectively measures how reactive that your body is to certain things that you may be eating that you thought were perfectly fine, but can cause destruction to the joints, to the nerves, to the internal organs, all kinds of things. So what we do with this is we take a drop of blood, drop of your blood. You actually do this by yourself in the privacy of your home. So you express a little bit of blood from your finger, you put it on a test card, and you mail it to a lab, and they measure your blood against 95 food antigens to see how reactive that you would be. Are you slightly reactive? Are you moderately reactive? Are you severely reactive? And some of the common ones are things like eggs, dairy, wheat, certain fruits and vegetables. Everybody's a little bit unique, and they can pinpoint exactly where the problem is coming from as far as the foods are concerned. And there's also a thing called molecular mimicry, where certain foods can react very much like other foods and cause havoc in your body. And that's a test. We send you out to the lab and we draw some blood. We send it to a lab called Cyrex, and they measure um, what part of your body could be affected. Could it be could it be affecting your nervous system in the brain? Could it be affecting your gut? Could it be affecting your skin? So we can find out with absolute accuracy. This is a very sophisticated test. It's a DNA based test. So it can find out exactly what's going on and give us a full color printout of how reactive that your body may be to certain things. And that what kind of autoimmune attack could be a forthcoming.
And when we're talking about root cause, can't get much deeper than that. Excellent recommendation. Are there any tests that you recommend that we can order from our own home?
There are, depending on what is wrong, will determine if there's a home test or if we have to send you to a lab. What I typically would do, let me backtrack a little bit and tell you a little bit about my procedure of doing a workup. So the first thing is I want to gather information. I want to gather enough information to arrive at the most accurate diagnosis possible. And that starts with looking at the medical history, and then also includes what are your symptoms? Who have you gone to? What have you done so far? So I'm not kind of doing the same thing that other people have done. After that, we'll do a consultation, and I'll ask questions like, what are your goals? What do you want to see happen? What would make you happy with the care? Following that, I want to get a baseline foundational medical analysis of labs. And that typically comes in the form of blood and urine tests. Once I get that, I have gathered more information about what's going on, and I have a really clear understanding of the severity of the case that's put in front of me. Following that, we need to make some decisions on which labs that you may need. Not everybody needs the same labs. This is not a cookie cutter thing. This is a personalized, uh, highly personalized, patient-centered approach to healthcare. So maybe we'll want to start off with a food allergy test. Maybe we'll want to start off by seeing how your body is making energy and do an organic acid test. Maybe we want to do a stool test if you have GI problems to see what's the health of the microbiome, or do you have a problem with leaky gut syndrome? Do you have a problem with absorption of nutrients leading to a deficiency somewhere? Um, you may want to start off by doing some Cyrex tests. Cyrex is a lab that is focused on immune system challenges. So depending on what part of the body could be affected depends on which test that they do. They have like 25 different tests. And some of these tests can be done through the comfort and privacy of your home. Other tests we would want to send you to a lab like Quest or LabCorp or like a MedExpress type thing to draw some blood and send it to the lab. And the purpose of doing that is to objectively measure how what's going on with your body, and could it be a problem that needs to be fixed. And so by doing this methodically and carefully over time, we can come up with the most accurate diagnosis possible. This is way beyond what you're going to get at the primary care physician. So one of the problems with primary care physicians is that when you go to the PCP, um, when you walk in, he's going to order a very narrow bandwidth of tests in order to arrive at a diagnosis, in order to prescribe a drug. In other words, he's going to do exactly whatever the insurance companies dictate to him that they will pay for. I guess they're tired of arguing with people. And so the bad part about that is that by the time you even walked in the guy's door, Your treatment plan has been predetermined for you by some actuary that works for the insurance company that works in another city and sits in a cubicle. He's never met you. He's never looked at your labs. He's never done an exam. He's never done a consultation, but he is going to determine what your treatment plan looks like. And so when the labs come back, that you have a certain diagnostic box that you're put in, and these are the drugs that you give when you're in this diagnostic box. And that is allopathic medicine. It's not really sufficient for diagnosing and treating complex autoimmune conditions that require a lot of digging. The doctors that I found that mostly deal with immune system disorders are rheumatologists. And all the rheumatologists are interested in, the ones that I've met, are suppressing your symptoms. That's it. They're not looking for the root cause, what could be driving your issues. And none of them ask you about dietary things and lifestyle things and all kinds of stuff that could potentially cause a positive impact in your life.
So the fact that medications are suppressing the symptoms, is that a reason why it's common to hear people come back into the doctor's office with more symptoms later down the road? Is that part of the problem that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think that you're exactly right. That is part of the problem. Another part of the problem is that all drugs, every single drug out there has side effects. Every drug. And one of the problems is that if you take a drug, it's been researched, it's been FDA approved, there's all this data out there, all this clinical information on it, all this stuff. It's great. But what happens when you take drug one and drug two together? How much data, how much research exists when you're in the world of polypharmacia, meaning that you're taking more than one drug, as a lot of people are? The answer to that is zero. There's no information whatsoever. They try to um, find potential hazards, potential side effects, but they don't always get it right. And a lot of times people end up with side effects as a result of taking drugs. My wife is an RN and she worked at a nursing home for a while, and they give those people buckets of pills, and half of them are to counter the side effects that were caused by the first half of the drugs. So it's a sad situation. When people come in my office and they want to come see me, one of the things that I always do is ask them to give me their drug list so I can see what they're taking and how much and what for. And the most I've ever seen in my career, a guy came in, his drug list was a page and a half, single space typed.
Wow.
Yeah, and he walked in like a zombie from all the drugs that he was taking. These doctors, they I don't really think that they talk to each other, and they don't really understand. This other guy prescribed this drug, and now he's taking two drugs as opposed to one, and it's just a mess. The average adult, how many are they taking? Maybe five or seven.
Mm.
There's a cholesterol drug, there's a high blood pressure medication, there's a thyroid medication, there's um there's Ambien to sleep, there's uh, anxiety medications and antidepressants. It just goes on and on and on. And first of all, I'm not anti-drug. I'm not anti-physician. And I apologize if I came across that way. But I believe that there's a time and a place for all healing. There's a time and a place for medications. There's a time and a place for surgery. But I also believe that we as a people are over medicated. And we need to come up with better solutions and better approaches to helping people, especially with autoimmune conditions.
I have to agree with you. And in today's world, we've lost touch with being connected with our bodies and having that intuitive sense that, okay, something's off, and it muddies the waters when we pile on the medications. I agree with you 100%. There's a time and a place, but I think our bodies were designed for some of the simple things we've forgotten about: nature, water, sunlight, whole foods, those types of things. So, what are some of the first things that you recommend, those first steps that somebody can take when they come in to see you, daily habits that you find are helpful for people?
Well, some of the fundamentals I think are apply to most everybody. You want to make sure that you're getting plenty of rest. You're getting 8 hours of sleep. If you can't sleep throughout the night, that's a problem. Maybe because you have an enlarged prostate, or maybe because you've got anxiety and you toss and turn too much. Um, are you getting enough exercise? You don't even have to go to a fancy gym and work out with equipment. Just going for a walk outside for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. I walked my dog this morning. I did 3.5 miles before I came on the show. But that's me time. That's my time. So I just enjoy going outside and playing like a little kid again. Some of the younger people have no idea what I'm talking about. They go on play dates or something. But like when I'm old enough to remember going outside and playing until the street lights came on and your mom hollering to come in the house. I don't. It's a different world, but plenty of sleep, um, exercise, proper nutrition. That's another one. There's a lot of different diets out there. There's the Mediterranean diet, there's the keto diet, there's the paleo diet, there's an autoimmune paleo diet, there's the carnivore diet, things like that. There's no one size fits all when it comes to nutrition. I've learned that the hard way. What works for one person may not work for everybody. But what I would recommend that people do is to try to find the most natural whole foods that they can, the least processed foods that they can, and learn to appreciate foods, change their relationship with foods, focus on portion control, and focus on eating the right types of foods. Like walk the perimeter of the grocery store, leave the middle part alone, and stay away from gluten as much as you can. Stay away from grains, dairy, fried foods, sugar, things like that. If that's all you did, you'd probably feel a lot better if you just focus on those three things. If you just ate right, you exercised, and you got sleep like you should, and you put the phone away.
Yeah. Can you touch on the fact that consistency and daily focus on these types of habits is key? Because I know for a lot of people, they'll try something for 2 weeks. Oh, I ate healthy for about 2 weeks. I didn't feel anything. So they give up on it. Can you kind of touch on how important time and consistency is when we're talking about these types of symptoms and chronic diseases?
The stuff that I was talking about earlier is not, it's not a quick fix. It's not meant or designed to be a patch. You want to start thinking about long-term corrections as opposed to short-term gains. I'll give you an example. Let's say you had some cracks that led to some potholes in your driveway, and after about a decade, it started to look like a mess. Now, there's a couple different things that you could do to try to treat it. You could fill it in with some pothole fill, and it's going to be okay for about a season. But then the next time it snows, next time it's winter again, what is going to happen? It's going to go right back the way it came. The other way of doing things is to repave the whole driveway. It's going to be a little bit more of an investment. I understand that. But which one is going to give you the best long-term happiness is to think about long-term benefits. The same thing happens with your dietary habits and your sleeping habits. This is not designed for a short-term patch, short-term correction. There's no quick fixes when it comes to healthcare. That's what Americans are conditioned to. They want to do whatever they want, drink whatever they want, smoke whatever they want, eat whatever they want, and then give me a pill to fix my problems. And that's the American story. The better way of doing things is to look at the problem long term. What how are you going to live longer? How are you going to stay out of the nursing home? How are you going to avoid medications? It all starts by what you're eating, how you're exercising, how you're sleeping, your ergonomics, the relationship between your chair, your workplace, your car chair, your all these things. How is it affecting your posture and your spine? That could lead to either problems like arthritis, or it could lead to you feeling good. So that's really where people need to focus their energy on, is what can I do long range to fix this problem, as opposed to just short range and then after 2 weeks going back to my old way of doing things.
Yeah, that's great. That's a message I try to drive home in everything I do. And I think it's so hard for people to figure out how to implement on a daily basis and carve out the time. Like you said, you walked your dog this morning. In order for me to fit in movement, I have to get up at 4 or 4:30 in the
Oh
morning,
boy.
fit it in first thing, and then my day begins. So it's
Yeah.
really about figuring out what's important to you, what works for you, and finding that time. So
Well, I think that coming up with a good enough reason why. Why do you want to get up at 4:30 in the morning and drag your butt out of bed and do your exercise? Because that's the way you're going to stay fit and healthy, and your clothes are going to look good on you. Um, you want to change your attitude about things. Exercise should not be viewed as a punishment. I think it should be viewed as a reward, as a celebration. You're celebrating what you can still do. So that's one way of looking at things. When you're eating food, you don't want to eat food just because it's food and it's lunchtime and you want to stuff a sandwich down your throat. You want to work on eating things that are little bundles of repair and energy and make you feel good, and you should savor your food and you should enjoy everything. Um, it's all about it's first and foremost, it's your culture. Culture eats traditions for lunch. And so it's the culture that you build for yourself and for your family, and your lifestyle follows that. So you want to build a strong culture that's based on wellness and prevention, and focus on the fundamentals first. I mean, every single drug in the world is not going to fix your problem if you are polluting your body. If you're smoking and drinking and eating McDonald's every single day. I don't mean to pick on McDonald's, maybe Burger King. Um, but you get my point. You want to focus on all healthy things to get yourself in the right frame of mind, and take good action that's going to lead to good outcomes.
yeah, beautiful. So back to the beginning of our conversation, you had mentioned we can't heal an autoimmune disease, but we can put our symptoms into remission. And I think
Well,
that's
you can't cure autoimmune disease. You healing has to do more so with taking steps to reduce the attack on your own body. And if you think about it in terms of that, there's the thing is, you have to figure out where these things are coming from. What could be the cause of the autoimmune attack? Is it environmental? Is it genetic? My experience has taught me 95% of problems are lifestyle based. They're not genetic. 5% of problems are genetic. There's a lot of conditions that have a genetic link, like certain types of cancers, for example. But when it comes to autoimmune disease, they've done a lot of research, and they've not really found a very solid, conclusive link between autoimmune attack and genetics. What they have found is that there's some kind of a life effect that happened with a person. maybe the birth of a baby, a change of a job, a move, the death of a spouse, the death of a parent, some kind of a major life effect that can trigger an imbalance in the immune system. Like I talked to you about before, the Th1 and the Th2 systems have to be in balance with each other, and if they are, you're going to have less of an attack on your body. And there's a lot of different ways that you can test for this, and there's a lot of different things that you can do about this. Well, more so than just taking whatever drug that's right for you that you're supposed to talk to your physician about, whatever the commercial goes. Um, but it all basically boils down to proper testing, proper diagnosis, and then applying the right types of treatments. And those treatments come in the form of liver detoxification, gut detoxification, decreasing chronic inflammation, decreasing oxidative stress, balancing blood sugars, balancing if you have an anemia problem, if you have a cortisol problem that controls your autonomic nervous system. Maybe there's a problem with your sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Remember, boys and girls make both, and they have to be in the right amount for the right gender and the right age. Um, if there's a chemical sensitivity, such as a cleaning agent or a cosmetic that you've been putting on your body, that could be causing your autoimmune attack. Maybe it's because of a stealth infection. There's maybe an undiagnosed problem with Epstein-Barr virus or cytomegalovirus or herpes that has not been properly worked up and properly handled. Um, all these things can possibly cause autoimmune attack, and all of them have to be taken into consideration.
Yeah. Brought so much knowledge to this conversation. Um, so if you had one message to drive home to the listeners amidst all of this information that you shared with us today, what would that be?
Health is not easy. I think that the message is that you can get better. As long as you're still drawing a breath, there is hope. There is hope and there is help. And the way that you can get that is not by conventional medicine, it's by reaching more towards a functional medicine approach to looking at your whole existence. And I'm not talking about just using crystals and meditating from a tree and all that stuff. I'm talking about just basic, to me, it's common sense stuff. The fundamentals of wellness have to be first and foremost, as well as certain testing, as well as working with a doctor that knows exactly what the root cause of this, what's going on to drive the root cause of this. I don't think that most people, regardless of the condition, are really and truly getting to the source of the problem with primary care. They're just giving them pills to mask symptoms, and that's about as far as it's going to get. I always tell people, if you truly want to keep your chronic condition center, just do whatever the insurance will pay for. The insurance companies don't care about you. They don't. They don't care about your health. They don't care about your well-being. All they care about are their shareholders, and they want to make it very profitable for them.
All about profit. Kevin, thank you so much. Where can the listeners find you and connect with you?
Well, the best way is to call the office. Call me at area code 412-595-7332. And let's have a discovery call. Let's talk about your problems and what you're up against and see what I can do to give you some good advice. Again, that number is 412-595-7332. And I'm working on building a new website that I can direct your listeners to at a later point. I just don't have it up yet. But just give me a call. Let's get on the phone. Let's discuss this. And one of the things that I'll do is I can take a look at people's old labs. If they have other labs they've had done, You can email them to me. You can scan them and send them via fax or email. I'll take a look at that, and I'll point out exactly what they've done and what they haven't done, and that's where we should start.
Great. I can tell you care and you truly are here to make a difference. I think we need more of that in the world. So I'm glad you're here today. Thank you so much. I hope the listeners got a lot of value out of this conversation.
Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate you having me on. Great to meet everybody. Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you.
I hope this podcast has helped you in your autoimmune journey. If you find value and inspiration in this episode, please leave a 5-star rating and review and share the episode with a friend. When you do, you are helping this podcast reach people around the world who are ready to live a pain-free life. The information and opinions shared in this podcast are for educational and informational purposes only. The content within this podcast is not a substitute for professional care. Always seek the advice of a physician or medical professional to answer health-related questions. Implementing the advice shared on this podcast should be done at your own risk. Actions taken by listeners as a result of the content shared on this podcast is not the responsibility of the host or creator. This podcast does not endorse and is not affiliated with treatments or products mentioned in this podcast unless otherwise specified. Products or treatments shared in this podcast are for informational purposes only. Always seek the advice of a medical professional for answers to product or treatment questions. All content, including but not limited to text, graphics, logos, and material shared under the Autoimmune Reboot podcast, is protected by copyright and all applicable laws. Any kind of unauthorized distribution or use of this content is strictly prohibited and will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Listening to this podcast is acknowledging your agreement with these terms.